Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're going to Tokyo,
Hmm.
but not the version of Tokyo you might be thinking of. Not the neon signs, the scramble crossing, the Mario Karts in the street.
Right, not the Instagram version.
Exactly. We're going to a tiny smoky bar on a very rainy night.
Which is, I mean, that's where all the best conversations really start, isn't it?
It has to be. And it's where this whole story begins. We are unpacking the international bestseller Ikigai, The Japanese Secret to a Long and Happy Life by Hector Garcia and Francesc Miralles.
Right.
And I have to say, going through the research for this one, it felt less like reading just another self-help book and more like, I don't know, uncovering a completely different way of existing.
It really is a fundamental shift in gravity, I think. And that origin story you mentioned, in the bar, it's so important because this wasn't some, calculated academic project.
No.
It was two guys, one living in Japan, one from Spain, who were sitting there, probably a little burned out, asking that one question that I think keeps most of us up at night.
Mm-hmm.
What's the point? I mean, what is the whole point? Why do some people seem to have this endless well of energy for life while other people just seem to fade?
And that one question, that late-night conversation, it spiraled into a full-blown mission. They didn't just want to philosophize about it.
No, they wanted to see it in action. They wanted data.
Yeah, they wanted to find the people who had actually cracked the code, so they packed their bags and headed to one of the world's blue zones, specifically Okinawa, Japan.
And just for anyone who hasn't gone down that whole blue zone rabbit hole, these are the 5 regions in the world that researchers have identified where people live significantly statistically longer than average.
But even among that elite group, Okinawa is. It's special.
It's an outlier among the outliers.
The stats are just wild. In Okinawa, for every 100,000 inhabitants, there are about 24.55 people over the age of 100.
24.
That is it's miles ahead of the global average. It's not even in the same ballpark.
No, it's so statistically significant, you just can't write it off. You can't just say, oh, it's good genes or it's the water. There's something systemic happening there.
So the authors, Garcia and Miralles, they go there, they embed themselves in the community, they're interviewing the locals, and they keep hearing this one word over and over again, Ikigai.
Ikigai.
Now, I've seen this word. I've seen it on, coffee mugs and those motivational posters with a nice sunset in the background. But what are we actually talking about here? Is it just passion? Is that it?
See, and that's the classic Western simplification, isn't it? We love to boil these complex, ancient ideas down to a single buzzword we can sell.
Right.
But Ikigai is so much more layered than that. The rough translation is something like the happiness of always being busy.
Okay, the happiness of always being busy. That sounds like my inbox. That
That's
sounds
so easy.
exhausting.
It does. But it's not busyness in that frantic corporate hustle culture sense. It's not about being overwhelmed. It's the busyness of deep engagement. A better translation might be the reason we get up in the morning. But if you really want to get into it, you have to look at the kanji, the Japanese characters.
Yeah, I was looking at the etymology notes. It's fascinating. It's broken down into iki, which means life.
Right. And kai, which on the surface means to be worthwhile.
Okay. A life that is worthwhile. That makes sense.
But kai itself has these other hidden layers, other connotations. You can break it down further into characters that suggest things like armor, or number 1, and also beautiful or elegant.
Armor. Now that is a very different vibe than just purpose.
Isn't it? Purpose feels kind of soft, kind of abstract. Armor implies protection. It implies resilience.
It suggests that having an ikigai isn't just a fluffy, nice-to-have emotional state.
It's a survival mechanism. It's the armor that protects you from the inevitable suffering and pointlessness that life can throw at you.
So the central premise of this whole book and the Okinawan lifestyle they observed is that this deep sense of purpose is the primary driver of their longevity.
It is. The book argues that it might even be more important than what they eat or their genetics.
That is a massive statement. I mean, we obsess over gluten and macronutrients and how many steps we take a day. But what you're saying is if you eat all the kale in the world, but you dread waking up in the morning.
You're missing the biggest piece of the puzzle. The data emerging from psychoneuroimmunology seems to back this up. The immune system, the cardiovascular system, they respond to the mind. If the mind has no compelling reason to be here, the body starts to follow suit. It starts to check out.
Let's really dig into this because the very first place this whole concept just crashes head-on into Western culture is our idea of retirement.
Oh, absolutely.
I feel like our entire societal structure is built around this one idea. You work, you suffer for 40, maybe 50 years so that you can stop.
It's the deferred life plan. I'll be happy when.
Exactly, the golden years. You hit 65, you get the gold watch, and you go sit on a beach somewhere. But the book mentions something that just stopped me in my tracks. There is no word in Japanese that means retire in the sense that we use it in the sense of leaving the workforce for good.
It's a linguistic gap that reveals this huge cultural chasm. The concept of completely stopping, of becoming inactive, it just doesn't exist in the same way.
So in the West, retirement is the finish line. It's the prize you get for enduring your career.
It's seen as the reward for suffering.
Yeah.
But in the Japanese worldview, especially in Okinawa, being active and contributing to your community, that is the reward. Why on earth would you ever want to stop doing something that gives you value and meaning?
So if you're a carpenter, you don't just stop building chairs when you turn 65.
No, maybe you build fewer chairs, or you build different, more intricate things. Or, and this is key, you start teaching the younger generation how to build chairs.
Ah, so you never disconnect.
You never become obsolete. The idea of doing nothing, that classic image of the retiree just idling away on a porch swing, that's actually seen as dangerous in Okinawa. It's considered the quickest path to physical and mental decline.
It reminds me of that Venn diagram that everyone shares on LinkedIn. You know, the one with the 4 circles?
The Mark-Venn diagram, yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably the most popular visual representation of Ikigai. And it's worth noting, it's actually a Western interpretation of the concept, but it is a really useful framework to think about it.
Okay, so let's use that framework. Let's audit a hypothetical life with it, because I think this is where a lot of people get stuck. So circle 1 is what you love.
Right.
Circle 2, what you are good at. Circle 3, what the world needs. And the big one, circle 4, what you can be paid for.
Exactly. And the sweet spot, the bullseye in the middle where all 4 overlap, that's supposed to be your Ikigai.
Huh.
But the really interesting parts are the partial intersections. That's where the nuance is.
Okay, so let's take the classic starving artist.
Right.
They've got what they love, their art. And they're good at it. You could even argue the world needs beauty, so it covers that circle too, but they aren't getting paid for it.
So what they have, according to the diagram, is delight and fullness, but no wealth.
That feels like a very precarious Ikigai.
It is. You can't sustain it if you can't eat. Now flip that. Take the classic high-powered corporate lawyer who's miserable.
Okay, they're definitely getting paid for it, and they're probably very good at it, so 2 circles are covered.
Right, so that's a profession. They have money and competence. But if they don't love it, and deep down they don't feel like the world really needs another corporate litigation.
They feel empty. They feel useless.
I think that's the Sunday Scaries demographic right there. That feeling of dread when the weekend ends, because you know you have to go back to a life that's comfortable, but ultimately meaningless to you.
And then the last one is mission. You love it, the world needs it, but you're not good at it yet, and you're not paid.
It's just a dream, really. It's pure idealism without the practical skills or financial support to make it real. The struggle, the work of life, is trying to find a way to balance all 4 of those circles.
But is that realistic? Can everyone really find a job that pays them well, that they absolutely love, that they're a genius at, and that somehow saves the world? It feels like an incredibly high bar.
It is a high bar, and I think the Okinawans would argue that you don't necessarily need to hit that bullseye in your 9-to-5 job.
Ah, okay. That's a really important distinction.
A huge one. Your Ikigai doesn't have to be your career. Your Ikigai could be raising your grandchildren. It could be tending your garden. It could be the volunteer work you do at the local community center.
So that what you can be paid for circle becomes less critical if you have a pension or if you've structured your life to be simple and require less money.
Exactly. The crucial part isn't the paycheck. It's the feeling of being needed. It's the feeling that if you didn't wake up tomorrow, someone or something would be worse off.
Okay, so speaking of, well, living forever, or at least trying to, the book takes this weirdly sci-fi detour at one point. It starts talking about escape velocity and this rabbit. I was reading it thinking, wait, are we still in a Japanese fishing village?
It is a bit jarring, isn't it?
Yeah.
It feels like you accidentally flipped to a different book.
Right.
But it's there for a reason. It's there to contrast the 2 main ways humans are trying to cheat death. You've got the technological approach and the natural approach.
Okay, break down the technological one for me, the rabbit analogy.
All right, so imagine a rabbit is standing in a field holding a sign. And on that sign is the date of your death.
That's grim.
It's a little grim, yeah. But as you live your life, you are constantly walking toward that rabbit. Now, at the same time, medical technology is also moving. It's pushing the rabbit further away from you.
Okay.
Let's say that right now, for every year you live, medical science adds about 1 month to your life expectancy. So the rabbit is walking away, but very slowly. You're still gaining on him. You're still going to catch him eventually.
Right.
Escape velocity is the theoretical point in the future where technology starts advancing so fast that for every single year you manage to survive, science adds more than 1 year to your life expectancy.
So the rabbit starts running faster than you can walk.
Exactly. You never catch the sign. You become, in theory, biologically immortal.
Does that sound just exhausting to anyone else? I mean, living forever sounds great in principle, but the constant pressure to keep up with the next therapy, the next upgrade.
It's the ultimate Silicon Valley dream, isn't it?
Yeah.
But the authors make this really sharp pivot right here. They say, look, that's all very interesting, but we are not at escape velocity yet. The rabbit is still out there, and he is waiting for all of us. So while the futurists are popping 100 supplements a day and waiting for nanobots to fix their cells, the people of Okinawa are achieving the maximum possible human lifespan right now, using incredibly low-tech tools.
They're not waiting for the future to save them. They're optimizing the present.
Precisely. They are using things like community, diet, and a sense of purpose to get as close to that rabbit as is naturally possible.
Okay, let's move from the sci-fi back to the mind, because you can't talk about purpose without getting deep into psychology. The book spends a lot of time on Viktor Frankl and his logotherapy.
Yeah, this is one of the heaviest and I think most profound parts of the whole book. Frankl was a psychiatrist, but more importantly, he was a Holocaust survivor. He was imprisoned in Auschwitz.
And that experience, I mean, it must have just completely shaped his entire theory of the human mind.
It did entirely, because he observed something incredible. He saw that the prisoners who managed to survive weren't necessarily the ones who were the strongest or healthiest physically.
Who were they?
They were the ones who had a reason to survive.
Yeah.
A future they could imagine themselves stepping into. A child to get back to, a book they needed to finish writing. They had a why.
He called this logotherapy from the Greek word logos, meaning meaning, so it's healing through meaning.
Right.
How is that different from, say, traditional Freudian psychoanalysis, which is what most people think of when they hear therapy?
Well, Freud was obsessed with what he called the pleasure principle. The idea that human beings are fundamentally driven by the desire for pleasure and the avoidance of pain. He also focused almost exclusively on the past. If you're unhappy now, the assumption is we need to dig into your childhood. We need to analyze your relationship with your mother.
The classic, tell me about your dreams.
Exactly. Logotherapy just flips that script completely. It looks to the future. It says humans aren't driven by a will to pleasure, but a will to meaning. We can endure almost any amount of pain, any suffering, if we know why we're enduring it.
Frankl had this one question he would ask patients who came to him and were suicidal. It's brutal, but it's brilliant. He'd ask them, why do you not commit suicide?
It sounds so callous on the surface, but it's surgically precise. It forces the patient to look past their pain and identify the one thing that's still tethering them to life.
And the patient might say something like, well, I can't kill myself because who would take care of my cat? Or I have this research paper I have to finish.
And that tiny little thread, the cat, the paper, that is the Ikigai. That is the foundation you can start to build a recovery on.
The book shares that story of the American diplomat. This guy was just miserable. He'd been in psychoanalysis for 5 years. They were digging into his relationship with his father, his sexual frustrations, the whole Freudian checklist.
And nothing was working.
Nothing. He was still just empty inside. So he goes to see Frankl, and Frankl listens to him for a while and realizes this guy doesn't have an Oedipus complex.
He just hates his job.
He just hated his job. He was an American diplomat who fundamentally didn't believe in the foreign policy he was being paid to enforce.
So the illness, the depression, was actually a perfectly rational and healthy reaction to living a life without any meaning.
Exactly. Frankl told him to find a different career. The diplomat quit his job, found something else, and the depression just vanished. It wasn't a chemical imbalance, it was an existential crisis.
It's incredible.
Then there's the story of the doctor. This one.
Yeah.
This one actually made me tear up a little bit when I was reading it.
It's so moving. It was an elderly doctor who came to Frankl because he couldn't cope with the death of his wife. They had been together for decades, and he was just drowning in grief.
And Frankl didn't try to, cure the grief, did he?
No, because you can't. Grief is the price of love. Instead, he asked a hypothetical question. He said, "What would have happened, doctor, If you had died first and your wife had been the one to survive you.
And the doctor replied, oh, for her it would have been terrible. She would have suffered so much.
And Frankel just gently said, you see, doctor, you have spared her that suffering, but now you must pay for it by surviving and mourning her.
Wow. That is, God, that's just so powerful. It doesn't take the pain away, but it reframes it completely.
It gives the suffering a purpose. It transforms his grief from a meaningless affliction into a final, noble sacrifice he is making for the person he loved. The pain doesn't go away, but it becomes bearable because it now has meaning. That is the absolute core of logotherapy.
Now, in parallel to this, there's another therapy mentioned in the book that feels very distinct, very Japanese.
Yeah.
Morita therapy.
Yes, from Shomo Morita. He was a contemporary of Frankel, creating this in Japan around the same time. And it's deeply, deeply rooted in Zen Buddhism.
And this one tackles anxiety in a way that feels almost completely counterintuitive to a Westerner. You know, in the West, if I'm feeling anxious, the goal is to fix it, to get rid of the feeling.
We treat our feelings like problems to be solved, or like enemies to be defeated. Morita's whole philosophy is, stop. You can't.
You can't.
No. He said feelings are like the weather. You can't control the rain. You can't stop a thunderstorm by yelling at it. You just have to accept that it's raining, carry an umbrella, and keep walking to where you need to go.
He uses that fable about the donkey.
The donkey tied to a post. It's such a perfect metaphor for anxiety. Imagine a donkey is tied to a stake in the ground. It gets spooked by something and tries to run away.
Right.
It pulls and pulls on the rope. The more it pulls, the tighter the knot gets. The more it struggles, the more trapped and panicked it feels.
And we are the donkey.
We are the donkey. The pulling on the rope is our mental obsessing. Why am I feeling anxious? I shouldn't be anxious. I need to stop being anxious. What if this feeling never goes away? That very struggle is the trap.
So what does Morita therapy say to do?
Stop pulling. Acknowledge that you are tied up. Accept the feeling of the rope around your neck. And then go do the dishes.
Go do the dishes.
Action is the cure, not thinking. The goal isn't to change your feelings, it's to change your behavior despite your feelings.
The actual treatment process they described, though, I don't know if I could do it. It starts with total isolation?
It is hardcore, I'm not going to lie. The first stage is 5 to 7 days of complete isolation. You're put in a room, no phone, no books, no TV, no talking to anyone. You just sit there with your thoughts.
That sounds like actual torture.
For a modern, overstimulated mind, it is. But think about what happens. For the first day or two, you were just climbing the walls. You're bored out of your skull, you're anxious, your brain is screaming for a dopamine hit. But by day 3 or 4, something shifts. The brain settles down. You start to just observe your thoughts and feelings rather than being completely drowned by them. You learn that boredom won't kill you. Anxiety won't kill you. They're just weather patterns in the mind.
It's like a hard reset for your nervous system.
It is. It breaks the addiction to constant stimulation. Then, after that, they introduce what's called light occupational therapy.
Which is?
You're given simple, repetitive tasks to do in total silence. Maybe it's scrubbing a floor, or sorting beans, or weeding a garden.
Why repetitive tasks?
To bypass the ego. You're not doing something important or creative. You're just doing... It teaches you to ground your attention in the present moment, in the physical task at hand, regardless of how you feel emotionally.
And then you graduate to chopping wood.
Yes. Heavy physical labor, reconnecting with the body and its power. And then finally, after all that, you're allowed to re-enter social life. But you come back with this new perspective. You've learned through direct experience that you can function, you can be productive, even if you feel bad. You are not your feelings.
There's a specific meditation they use at the end called Nikon, and it's based on 3 very specific questions.
It's a powerful introspection tool. You pick a person in your life, let's say your mother, and you meditate on 3 questions.
Okay.
Number 1, what have I received from my mother? Number 2, what have I given to my mother? And number 3, what problems have I caused my mother?
You know, it's missing the one question that my brain would immediately go to, which is, what problems has she caused me?
Exactly, and that's the whole trick. Our default setting is to focus on our grievances, on how we've been wronged. Nikon forces you to inventory your blessings and your own culpability. It generates a tremendous sense of gratitude and humility.
It shifts the entire camera angle of your life from me versus the world to me as a small part of the world.
Which is absolutely essential for finding your Ikigai. You can't find a purpose that's bigger than yourself if you're constantly obsessed with your own small grievances.
Okay, so we've cleared out the mental clutter. We've accepted our anxiety. Now we need to actually get into the zone. The book spends a huge chunk of time on the concept of flow.
Right, Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi's work. He's really the godfather of flow state research.
So define it for us. What is flow?
Flow is that state of being where your self-consciousness just dissolves. You are so completely immersed in an activity that time itself seems to distort. You look up from your work, and 3 hours have passed in what felt like 5 minutes.
The authors use the analogy of skiing down a steep slope.
Skiing is a perfect example.
Yeah.
Imagine you're on a black diamond run. You absolutely cannot be thinking about your taxes. You can't be worrying about that awkward thing you said at dinner last night.
You'll crash.
If your mind wanders for even a split second, you wipe out. The perceived danger forces your brain into the absolute present.
So the ego, the chattering voice in your head, it dissolves because the brain literally doesn't have the bandwidth to maintain it while also navigating the mountain.
Precisely. You don't feel like a person who is skiing.
Yeah.
You just become the skiing. You and the action are one.
But most of us can't be downhill skiing all day, so how do we find this state in our regular lives? The book lists 7 conditions for achieving flow.
They do. You need to have clear goals. You need immediate feedback on how you're doing. But the most critical one, the one that everything else balances on, is the relationship between challenge and skill.
The Goldilocks zone.
That's it. If a task is too easy for your skill level, you get bored. Your mind starts to wander. If a task is too hard, you get anxious. You panic and shut down. Flow lives on that razor's edge where the task is just slightly outside your current comfort zone. You have to stretch to reach it, but it's not so far that it feels impossible.
There's that great Hemingway quote they mention. Sometimes I write better than I can.
That is the perfect description of flow. You are performing at the absolute upper limit of your ability, and it feels like the skill is coming through you, not from you.
The Japanese seem to have baked this idea deep into their culture with the concept of the takumi, the master artisan.
This is so key to understanding Ikigai. In the West, we often view repetitive work as drudgery, as a means to an end. For the takumi, the intense focus on the work is the end.
The book highlights Jiro Ono, the sushi master from that great documentary, Jiro Dreams of Sushi.
A living legend. He's in his late 80s, maybe 90s by now, and he is still standing behind that tiny sushi counter making sushi every single day.
But the story that really illustrates the point isn't about Jiro himself, it's about his apprentice. There's an apprentice who spent 10 years.
10 years.
Learning just how to make the tamago, the sweet egg omelet.
Just the egg.
Just the egg for a decade. I mean, I would have quit after a week. I'd be like, it's an egg, Jiro, come on.
And that is exactly why we don't have Ikigai in our work.
Right.
Because the apprentice didn't quit. He didn't get bored. He found what the book calls microflow in the tiny details.
Okay.
He obsessed over the exact temperature of the pan, the precise ratio of the sugar and mirin, the flick of the wrist as he folded it. When he finally, after a decade, made an omelet that Jiro approved of, the apprentice wept with joy.
He wept over an egg.
He wept because he had achieved mastery. That relentless pursuit of perfection in a simple task, that is Ikigai. It's about finding the entire universe in a grain of sand.
But what if I'm not a sushi apprentice? What if my job is being an accountant? Or what if I'm just stuck at home doing laundry? How do you find flow in that?
The book talks about applying this idea of microflow to mundane tasks. They tell the story of Richard Feynman, the Nobel Prize-winning physicist.
The bongo player.
Yeah, he was a real character. He often had to do boring administrative paperwork. But instead of just slogging through it, he turned it into a game. He would time himself to see how fast he could do it. He would try to find hidden patterns in the numbers. He would invent little constraints for himself just to make the boring task difficult enough to require his full attention.
So if you're stuck doing the laundry, don't just mindlessly fold it while you watch TV.
No. Try to fold every single shirt perfectly. Try to do it faster than you did last time. Make it a challenge. Reclaim your attention. Because the #1 enemy of flow is what the book calls continuous partial attention.
And that is modern life in a nutshell, isn't it?
Yeah.
We are sitting here watching TV while also scrolling on Twitter, while also half listening to a conversation with our partner.
And the result is we are never truly there for any of it. We're just ghosts haunting our own lives. The book strongly suggests a social media diet, not just to save time, but to save our very ability to focus.
Because if you can't focus...
You can't get into flow. And if you can't get into flow, it's very hard to feel the deep satisfaction of Ikigai.
They have some practical tips, like no screens for the first hour and last hour of the day.
Which is physically painful for most of us to even think about.
It really is. My thumb just goes to the phone automatically. It's pure muscle memory.
And breaking that one simple loop is the first step to reclaiming your mind.
All right, let's pivot from the mind to the body. You can't have a conversation about longevity without talking about food. What is the Ikigai diet?
It all starts with a phrase that the Okinawan elders say before, and maybe more importantly, during every single meal. Hara hachibu. It
Harachibu.
translates roughly to belly 80%.
Oh,
Or, put more simply, stop eating when you are 80% full.
this is so difficult because in the US, and honestly most of the Western world, the signal to start eating is when you feel full or when the plate is empty.
Or when you have to unbutton your pants.
Right, so if you stop at 80%, you still feel technically a little bit hungry.
You think you do. But here's the science. There's about a 20-minute lag time between your stomach actually being full and your brain getting the memo. So if you eat until you feel 100% full, you've actually overeaten. You're probably at 120%.
So Harahachibu is about anticipating that lag. It's about trusting your stomach over your brain in that moment.
It is. And physiologically, the benefit is huge. Digestion is a massive energy drain on the body. Heavy, prolonged digestion accelerates cellular oxidation. It basically rusts you from the inside out. By eating slightly less, you dramatically reduce the load on your organs and you create fewer free radicals.
But how do they actually do it? Is it just incredible willpower?
No, their whole environment is set up to help them. Have you ever noticed how a traditional Japanese meal is served?
It's a lot of tiny little plates.
So many tiny plates. Little dish of pickles, a small bowl of rice,
Yeah.
a small piece of fish, a bowl of miso soup.
It feels like a feast because the whole table is covered with dishes.
Exactly. But the total volume of food is actually quite low. It's a psychological trick. You feel like you're having a big, varied, multi-course meal. In the U.S., we get one giant plate with a mountain of pasta on it. It's really hard to stop halfway up a mountain.
So what are they actually eating on those tiny plates?
It's what they call the rainbow diet. Diversity is absolutely key. The Okinawan centenarians they studied eat an average of 18 different foods every single day.
18. I'm trying to count what I had for lunch. A sandwich. So, bread, turkey, cheese, little mayo. That's 4.
And that's a pretty processed meal. They are eating things like tofu, sweet potatoes, bitter melon, carrots, seaweed, peppers, soy sprouts.
Let's talk about some of the specific superfoods they mention. The first one is shikuwasa.
The Okinawan lime. It's this tiny, kind of ugly green citrus fruit. And it is incredibly sour. You usually have to dilute the juice with water.
But it's a nutritional powerhouse.
It is packed with something called nobiletin, which is a flavonoid that's a ridiculously potent antioxidant.
Can we even get that here?
It's hard to find fresh, but you can find bottles of the juice. But I think the principle is more important than the specific fruit. Bitter is good, acidic is good. These are often signs of powerful plant compounds.
They also eat a lot of goya, which is bitter melon.
Which truly, truly lives up to its name. It is intensely bitter, but again, it's known to lower blood sugar. It's basically medicine that you eat on a plate.
And tea. We have to talk about the tea.
Sanpincha. It's a specific local blend of green tea and jasmine flowers. And they don't just have a cup in the morning. They drink it all day long.
Yeah.
It's essentially their water.
So they are just constantly flushing their systems with antioxidants.
Constantly. And what are they not eating? Sugar. Okinawans consume a tiny fraction of the sugar that Westerners do, and very little meat. Pork is a ceremonial food, eaten maybe once or twice a week. Fish, maybe 3 times a week. The vast majority of their diet is plants.
So, to sum it up, eat a rainbow of plants, use small plates, stop before you hate yourself, and drink jasmine tea all day.
That's the recipe for 100 years, right there.
Okay, now movement. When I think of getting in shape, my mind immediately goes to the gym, to sweating and grunting and lifting heavy things until I can't move.
And that is the absolute opposite of the Blue Zone approach to fitness. The centenarians in Ogini, they're not doing CrossFit. They are not running marathons.
So how are they still so mobile and strong at 100 years old?
Constant, gentle, low-intensity movement. They almost never sit still for long periods. They're always up and down, puttering around.
Gardening seems to be a huge part of this.
It might be the ultimate form of exercise. I mean, think about all the movements involved. You have to walk out to the garden. You squat down to pull weeds. You stand back up. You reach up to pick a fruit. You carry a watering can. It's dynamic, functional, full-body movement.
And you're outside in the sun.
Getting vitamin D, which is crucial. And there's a huge mental component, too. You are nurturing something. You are watching life grow. That connects right back to Ikigai.
There's also this amazing cultural ritual they mention called radio taiso.
Radio exercises. This is fascinating. Since the 1920s, way before World War II, the Japanese government has broadcast a daily exercise routine on the national radio.
Like a morning show for working out.
Exactly. Every morning at 6:30, music plays, and a calm voice guides you through 5 minutes of simple calisthenics. Arm circles, stretches, toe touches, and the whole country does it.
The entire country.
Well, a huge portion of it. You'll see it in schools, in offices, on construction sites. You'll see a group of construction workers stop what they're doing, turn on the radio, and do their morning stretches together.
Wow.
The book describes visiting a nursing home where all the residents, even the ones in wheelchairs, were doing it. Maybe they could only lift their arms a few inches, but they were participating.
It's communal. That has to be the key. It's not just exercise. It's a shared daily ritual.
And that brings us to maybe the most important part of the Okinawan secret, the social glue that holds it all together, the moai.
This was my absolute favorite concept in the whole book. A moai is a social group, but it is so much more than just a book club or a weekly poker game.
Much more. It originated centuries ago as a kind of financial support system for farmers. If your crops failed one year, your moai would chip in to save your family from starving.
And how does it work today?
It's typically a group of 5 or 6 friends who make a commitment to each other for life. They meet up regularly, weekly or monthly for dinner, to play games, to talk, to gossip. But there's also a financial component. Everyone pays a small monthly fee into a group pot.
Like club dues.
Exactly. And that money accumulates. Some of it is used for the group dinners and activities, but the rest of it acts as a safety net. If someone in the group has an unexpected medical emergency, or their kid needs help with tuition, or their roof starts leaking,
The moai funds it.
the moai funds it. It's basically peer-to-peer insurance.
But with a face.
It's insurance with a face. Think about the incredible psychological impact of that. In the West, if you lose your job or get a scary diagnosis, you are terrified. You feel like you are completely alone against the world. You have to call a faceless bank or an insurance company and beg for help.
Or start a GoFundMe and hope for the best.
Right. In Okinawa, without a doubt that your 5 best friends have your back. Not just emotionally, but financially too. The stress reduction from that security alone probably adds years to their lives.
There's a word for this, right? Yuimaru, the principle of connection.
Yuimaru. It means working together or teamwork. It's this deep-seated cultural belief that you are part of a tribe, and your well-being is tied to the well-being of the group. We know from modern science that loneliness is as deadly as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. The moai is the cultural antidote to loneliness.
So, after all this research, the authors finally make it to Ogimi, the village of longevity. This is ground zero. Can you paint a picture for us? What is it like there?
Ogimi is way up on the northern end of Okinawa. It's very rural, it's lush, jungly. The authors describe it as feeling like it's lost in time. It has this incredible stillness to it.
And the locals, they believe in forest spirits.
They do, the Bunagaya. They're described as long-haired forest sprites. And it sounds quaint and cute, but it speaks to their underlying religion, which is Ryukyu Shinto. It's animist. They believe that everything in nature has a spirit. The trees, the rocks, the waterfalls.
Which means they treat their environment with this immense respect. They're not trying to conquer nature or pave it over. They're living inside it.
Exactly. So the authors start interviewing these 90 and 100-year-olds, and I think they were expecting to hear some, mystical, profound wisdom. But the answers they got were just so beautifully simple.
The number one piece of advice was, don't worry.
Don't worry. One woman, 100 years old, said, "My secret to a long life is to feel joy every morning when I wake up at 6 and open the curtains to look out at my garden."
Another one said, the secret is to not get distracted by how old the fingers are.
I love that quote so much.
Yeah.
From the fingers down to the head, I am still working. There's no concession to age. There's no sense of I'm old, so I should stop.
And they are competitive. The authors talk about playing a game of gate ball with them.
Gate ball, which is kind of like croquet. And yeah, these 90-year-olds and centenarians absolutely just stray them. They play to win. They trash talk each other. They laugh. They aren't these fragile little porcelain dolls we imagine old people to be. They are vibrant and fully engaged in life.
This leads to the final big idea in the book, resilience. But the authors make a really interesting point that resilience isn't quite the right word for what these people have.
Right. Resilience implies that you resist a shock and then you snap back to how you were before, like a rubber band that stretches and then returns to its original shape.
Okay.
But to live to be 100, you have to endure so many shocks, the loss of loved ones, illnesses, financial hardships. Snapping back isn't enough. You need something more. You need anti-fragility.
This is a concept from the writer Nassim Nicholas Taleb.
It is. The anti-fragile is something that doesn't just resist harm, it actually gets stronger when it's harmed.
Like the Hydra from Greek mythology.
The Hydra is the perfect example. You cut off one of its heads, and two more grow back in its place. The Hydra loves chaos. It benefits from being attacked.
So how does a human being become anti-fragile?
By creating redundancy in your life, by making sure you don't have a single point of failure.
Give me a real-world example of that.
Okay, let's take your income. If you have one single corporate job that pays 100% of your bills and that company lays you off, you are fragile. Your entire financial life is broken.
You're at zero overnight.
But if you have a part-time job and you also have a side business selling crafts on Etsy, and you also have a large vegetable garden that feeds your family, if you lose that part-time job, you are hurt, but you are not dead.
Right.
You can shift your focus to the other things. You might even grow your side business and end up better off than you were before. That is anti-fragility.
And it applies to relationships too. If your spouse is your only friend, your only source of emotional support, and they leave you or they die, you are completely destroyed.
But if you have a deep, redundant network of close friends, the loss is still terrible. But the fundamental structure of your life holds up. You have emotional backup systems.
So Ikigai isn't just about finding that one single passion. It's about building a web of passions, skills, and connections so that no single event can completely take you out.
Precisely. It's about being robust and adaptable.
And part of that is accepting imperfection, the concept of wabi-sabi.
Wabi-sabi. It's the Japanese aesthetic of finding beauty in the fleeting and the imperfect. In the West, we are obsessed with perfection. We want eternal youth. We want the new car without a single scratch on it.
We use Botox to erase our wrinkles.
We are constantly fighting entropy. Wabi-sabi teaches you to embrace entropy. A teacup that is cracked and has been carefully repaired is considered more beautiful than a perfect one because the crack tells a story. The moss growing on an old stone gate makes it better, not worse.
So the wrinkles on a 100-year-old's face
Are the evidence of a life fully lived? They are a map of joys and sorrows. If you can shift your mindset to value age and experience rather than fear it, you remove one of the biggest sources of stress in modern life.
And that leads to the last concept, Ichigo Ichii.
This moment exists only now and won't come again. It's the ultimate mindfulness mantra.
Explain that.
This conversation that you and I are having right now, it will never, ever happen again in the history of the universe. We might talk again tomorrow, but we will be slightly different people. The weather outside will be different. The context will be different.
It puts an incredible premium on being present.
It forces you to stop living in regret about the past or anxiety about the future. If this is the only moment you truly have, you'd better pay attention to it. You better enjoy it.
Wow. We have covered a massive amount of ground here, from the neuroscience of flow to the sociology of support groups. The book wraps all of this up with the 10 rules of Ikigai. Let's just run through them as a final manifesto.
Let's do it. Rule number 1, stay active, don't retire. Keep your mind and your body engaged until the very end.
Rule 2, take it slow. Urgency is a modern stress response. You live much longer if you're not in a hurry.
Rule 3, don't fill your stomach. That 80% rule, harahachibu. Leave a little space.
Rule 4, surround yourself with good friends. Build your moai. It's your greatest treasure.
Rule 5, get in shape for your next birthday. Not with a punishing gym routine, but with gentle daily movement.
Rule 6, smile. Acknowledging the people around you and the good things in life lowers your cortisol.
Rule 7, reconnect with nature. Go find a tree. We are animals, and we are designed to be outside.
Rule 8, give thanks to your ancestors, to nature, to the food you eat, to the friends in your life. Gratitude is mental armor.
Rule 9, live in the moment. Stop regretting yesterday and fearing tomorrow. And finally, Rule 10, follow your Ikigai.
Whatever that unique thing is inside you that gives you a reason to get up in the morning, listen to it.
Find it. Nurture it.
And if you're listening to this right now and you're thinking, that's great, but I don't know what my Ikigai is.
And your Ikigai is the search. Your mission is simply to discover it.
There's a beautiful quote from the calligrapher Mitsuo Aida in the book that says, happiness is always determined by your heart. It's not determined by your bank account or your job title or how many followers you have.
It's an inside job. It always has been.
This whole deep dive started as a look at longevity, at how to live longer. But I think what we really found is something else. The goal isn't just to live to be 100.
No. It's to have a compelling reason to want to live to be 100. It's not about the quantity of your years, it's about the quality of your days.
Which brings us to our final question for you to think about, a question posed by the book itself. Are you busy being happy, or are you just busy?
That's the one to sit with.
That is the one. A huge thank you to our expert for guiding us through Okinawa today. This was fantastic.
My pleasure. It was a joy.
And to you, the listener, go eat something green, call a friend, and try to find your flow. We'll see you on the next deep dive.